Hey there, Planeswalkers, it's Steve for Collector Mania, continuing on with our Commander Brawl series. Today we're looking at Vraska, Relic Seeker. As I've mentioned before, these are loosely based off of the 4 Challenger decks that are coming out here, the 6th actually, a couple days from now. This is based off the black-green energy deck, so a lot of +1/+1 counters, heavy energy theme. I figured Vraska would probably be the best one to pilot this in black-green as far as Brawl commanders that are available to us, so I mean, we've got 4 colors, a black and a green, Planeswalker, 6 loyalty, +2, create a 2/2 black pirate creature token with menace, so pretty good attacker there, plus just a good chumper if you need to be. -3, destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment, create a colorless treasure artifact token with sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, so a little bit of ramp and destruction there. Then we've got a -10, target player's life total becomes 1. So overall, just a good utility commander, should be great in the format. Let's break into the creatures here. So first up, of course, we got a Walking Ballista. I believe one of these comes in the deck, if I'm not mistaken, which is totally awesome. Great value there. So double X, and then you pay X, so say you pay 4 mana into it, you get 2 +1/+1 counters when it comes out. So when Walking Ballista enters the battlefield, X +1/+1 counters on it, pay 4, you can put a +1/+1 counter on it. Remove a +1/+1 counter from Walking Ballista, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Overall, just a powerhouse in pretty much any format that you play this in. Somehow give it Death Touch, it just becomes ridiculous. Yeah, you can even just finish off players or other Planeswalker commanders with this creature pretty easily. Now we've got a Deadeye Tracker, one of my favorite creatures from Ixalan, really. So it's a 1 black, 1/1 human pirate that says pay 2 tap, exile 2 target cards from an opponent's graveyard, Deadeye Tracker explores. So just some value there. And we've got Blood Crazed Paladin, great, just slip him in when at the end of a board wipe or something like that, get a +1 or a bunch of +1/+1 counters, end up with a giant monster at the end of it. Then Glint Sleep Siphoner. This is probably my favorite energy card, to be honest. I know it's really low end and everything, but it's just ridiculous. So 2 cost, colorless black, 2/1 has menace. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, it gets an energy. Beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2. If you do, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So kind of like a Phyrexian Arena. Really, really cool card. Absolutely love it. Then we've got a Servant of the Conduit. So 1 colorless and a green, Elf Druid, 2/2. When it enters, you get 2 energy, and then you can pay 1 energy to add 1, or tap and pay to add 1 of any color to your mana pool. So just a little bit of ramp there. And then we've got a Winding Constrictor. So a black and a green, 2/3 snake. It says if 1 or more counters would be placed on an artifact or creature you control, that many of those counters +1 are placed on that permanent instead. It also has if you would get 1 or more counters, you get that many of those counters +1 instead. So great way to accrue energy. Also a great way to just put more and more counters on our creatures. We've got an Architect of the Untamed, so 2 colorless and a green, Elf Artificer Druid, 2/3. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you get an energy, so really, really cool. Plus it has an extra, mana. If we're getting so much energy that we're just kind of flooded with it, we can pay a ton of energy and get a 6/6 colorless beast artifact creature token. So generate some guys in the late game and some energy early game. Then we've got a Deathgorger Scavenger, so this is kind of like our Scavenging Ooze of the format, so 2 colorless and a green, 3/2 dinosaur. Whenever Deathgorger Scavenger enters the battlefield or attacks, you may exile target card from a graveyard. If a creature card is exiled this way, you gain 2 life. If a non-creature card is exiled this way, Deathgorger Scavenger gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So, great way to eat up some creatures that could become a problem later on in the game. Then we've got a Jadelight Ranger. This is another ridiculous card, so it's a Merfolk, 2/1, 1 colorless, 2 green, and essentially it enters the battlefield and explores twice, which is absolutely ridiculous. Something we definitely want to be doing. I've got Ronus the Indomitable, so just a good finisher plus a good blocker, basically everything you want it to be, so 2 colorless and a green, Death Touch, indestructible. Ronus can't attack or block unless you have Power 4 or greater, which honestly is not that hard to achieve. Then it's 2 colorless and a green, another target creature gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. So yeah, just not absolutely ridiculous powerhouse. Then we've got Rishkar Pima Renegade, so 2 colorless and a green, legendary creature Elf Druid, 2/2. When Rishkar Pima Renegade enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it taps and adds 1 green mana to your mana pool. So great again with our ramp strategy, also just really cool for getting counters on things. Then we've got Yahini, which is probably one of my favorite cards from Kaladesh. So 2 colors and a black, legendary creature, Aetherborn Vampire, 2/2 haste. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Yahini and Dying Partition. And then sacrifice another creature, Yahini gains indestructible until end of turn. So just an overall powerhouse once again. This guy survives board wipes and just gets giant and starts killing people left and right. So amazing card. Then we've got an Armorcraft Judge. So with the amount of +1/+1 counters that are flying around here, I figure this card is amazing. 3/3 for 3 and a green. Elf Artificer. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. So amazing card draw. Then we've got a Bristling Hydra. So 2 colors, 2 green, Hydra, 4/3. When Bristling Hydra enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. You can also pay 3 energy, put a +1/+1 counter on Bristling Hydra. It gains hexproof until end of turn. So a great way, once again, to use our energy late game, early game. Just gets us a bunch of energy. Yeah, really cool creature overall. They've got Gonti, Lord of Luxury. So 2 colors, 2 black, 2/3 Aetherborn Rogue, legendary creature, of course. It's got Death Touch. And essentially, when it enters the battlefield, you look at the top 4 cards of an opponent's library. You get to choose one of those cards and put it aside, kind of like in an exiled zone. You can cast that card for as long as, or forever, really, and then you can pay mana of any color to pay or cast that. The other cards that you exile from your opponent's library go on the bottom in a random order. So, really cool card. I absolutely love this. It's one of the best commanders from this set, in my opinion. It's just absolutely nuts. We've got a Ravenous Chupacabra, so 2 colors, 2 black, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. So, just good removal. Then we've got a Cultivator of Blades, so 3 colors, 2 green, Elf Artificer. 1/1. It's got Fabricate 2, which essentially means you can either put 2 +1/+1 counters on it as it enters, or create 2 1/1 servos. Most likely we're going to try and put the counters on the Cultivator of Blades, because the second effect is really bonkers. When Cultivator of Blades attacks, you may have other attacking creatures get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is Cultivator of Blades power. So we also want to just dump +1/+1 counters on this whenever we can, just to make essentially an overrun effect, which is really, really cool. Then I've got a Verdurous Gearhulk. So 3 colors, 2 green, 4/4, trample. Whenever it enters the battlefield, distribute 4 +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. So overall, just buffing our entire team or making one giant 8/8. Really, really good. Then we've got Demon of Dark Schemes. So 3 colors, 3 black. Probably one of our other best energy payoffs towards the late game. So 5/5 Flying Demon. When Demon of Dark Schemes enters the battlefield, all other creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. Whenever another creature dies, you get an energy. And then pay 2 and a color, or pay 2 and a black, pay 4 energy, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control tapped. So yeah, great way to just recur creatures of our opponents and ours. Just absolutely amazing. Then we've got a Noxious Gearhulk, so 4 colors, 2 black. It's got Menace, 5/4. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy another target creature. If a creature is destroyed this way, you gain life equal to its toughness. So, life gain and removal. Then we've got an Aetherwind Basker, so 4 colors, 3 green, Lizard. It's a 7/7 with Trample, which is already great. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, though, you get an energy for each creature you control. So that's really, really powerful. You can also pay an energy. It gets +1/+1 until end of turn, so you can just make it even bigger and just totally just wreck somebody's day. Then we've got Razakath the Foul-Blooded. 5 colorless and 3 black. Legendary creature demon, 8/8 flying trample. You can pay 2 life, sacrifice another creature, search your library for a card, and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. So, great tutor effect, great finisher. Overall, just an amazing card. I don't generally play things like this, especially in a format where it's like 60 card, like singleton. But I think we can get there with the amount of mana, and since it's a little bit slower because it's a Brawl / Commander variant, I think this card will actually work out really, really well as a finisher. Then we've got an animation module. So 1 colorless artifact. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are placed on a permanent you control, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. The ability that we're really after here is 3 colors and tap, choose a counter on target permanent or player, give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. So, if you think about it, our deck is trying to work with energy, it's also trying to work with +1/+1 counters, and our commander is a planeswalker, so this card overall is just a 100% include. Like, we just need to get Vraska up to 10 somehow, you know, if we're at 9 or something like that for some odd reason, this will do it for us. So really, really powerful, really good card in here. Then we've got a Life Crasher's Bestiary. So 3 colors. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1, which is already good enough in my opinion. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay a green if you do draw a card. So overall, this card's just ridiculous. It's probably one of the breakout cards once again from Kaladesh that pretty much went in every green commander deck that I have, just because it's amazing. Then I've got a Panharmonicon. There's a lot of enter the battlefield effects in here, especially with +1/+1 counters and explore triggers, so this just makes a whole heck of a lot of sense here. So 4 colorless artifact. If an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So absolutely amazing, ridiculous. Then breaking into enchantments, we've got Argyl's Bloodfast. So a colorless and a black. You can pay a colorless and a black, pay 2 life, draw a card. And that's really what it's in here for. I don't really anticipate wanting this to flip over because we don't want to be in that situation. So at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 5 or less life, you may transform Argyl's Bloodfast into Temple of Aclazalt. I don't even know how to say that. So anyway, you can tap it to add a black to your mana pool, or you can tap it, sacrifice a creature, you gain life equal to sacrifice creature's toughness. So not necessarily bad if we have to end up using this to keep ourselves alive, but I would rather use the front side as much as we can and draw as many cards as we can that way. I love Erebos / greed type effects, and this is one of the best ones from the set. So, and then we've got a Journey to Eternity. So a colorless, a black, and a green legendary enchantment aura. When enchant creature you control, when enchanted creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control, then return Journey to Eternity to the battlefield transformed under your control. So good recursion effect already. And then flip it over, it turns into a land. So we've got Atzal, Cave of Eternity. You can tap it, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, or you can pay 3 and a black and a green, tap, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Once again, just amazing recursion, you know, yeah, really, really good. Then we've got we're breaking into our instance here. We've got a Heroic Intervention, one of the best ways to stave off board wipes and just removal in general. So colorless and a green, instant, permanent you control, gain hexproof, and indestructible until end of turn. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Then we've got a Natural Obsolescence. So a colorless and a green, put target artifact on the bottom of its owner's library. So with Kaladesh still being in the Brawl rotation, there's a lot of artifacts that we don't want to see, so this just takes care of them right away. I've got a Vona's Hunger, so 2 colorless and a black, instant. It's got a send, so City's Blessing. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. If you have City's Blessing, instead each opponent sacrifices half the creatures he or she controls rounded up. So we're really hoping that when we play this, we have the City's Blessing. We just basically do a half board wipe, essentially. So really, really cool card. Absolutely love it. We've got Vraska's Contempt. One of the big breakout cards for Standard. It's going to be a little pricey to get, but I think it's definitely worth it. So 2 colors, 2 black. Exile target creature or planeswalker, you gain 2 life. I mean, if you think about the format, once again, there are planeswalkers as commanders, so having an ability to get rid of somebody's commander is amazing all the time, so this just hits them. Plus, exiling any creature basically any time is also amazing, so just a good include. Then into our sorceries, we got a Wildest Dreams, so XX and green, so return X cards from your graveyard to your hand, exile Wildest Dreams. So just great for recursion. I've used this card many times in regular Commander and it works wonders, so definitely high recommend. I've got Bantu's Last Reckoning, so a colorless and 2 black, destroy all creatures, lands you control don't untap during your next untap step. So most of the time I've actually found that you can really work around this. You know, if you really just need a board wipe, you just pay the 3, board wipe, pass the turn, leave some lands up. Next turn you do whatever you need to do, and that's really all you lose, so amazing card. And then we've got a Never Return. So on the top side it's a colorless 2 black, destroy target creature or planeswalker. On the graveyard side it is a exile target creature card from a graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So really what we're after is the top side where we're destroying something or a planeswalker or a creature or a planeswalker. But using it later on to make a jump blocker or just something to finish somebody off is also amazing. Then we've got Masterminds Acquisitions. So 2 colors, 2 black, choose one. So first choice is search your library for a card, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your library. So already a Demonic Tutor, really, really cool. Then also choose a card you own from outside the game and put it into your hand. So I just included this one over the other 4-cost Demonic Tutor because it has this effect on here. So say something of yours that's really important gets Vraska's Contempt and you need to go get it from exile. This card does that for you, so it's actually really, really good for that. And we're breaking into our lands here. We've got an Aether Hub. Of course, we're running pretty much energy, so having extra energy from a land that comes into play, plus we can pay an energy, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, so works really great for us. Then I've got an Arch of Vraska. I've said this in the last couple of videos. I think this is just a format Commander Brawl staple, so pick it up while you can. As soon as you have a send, you can pay 5, tap it, draw a card, so really, really powerful. And then we've got a Bloomin Marsh, so of course our fast land. This is one of our few choices of, lands, dual lands in the format so far. And I've got a Cradle of the Cursed, so land desert. You can tap and add a colorless, or pay 3, sacrifice Cradle of the Cursed, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So once again, just another way to make a little body if you need to jump block or attack somebody with something more than what you have. We've got a Desert of the Glorified. I love cycle lands. I'm sure if you've listened to this channel at all, you've heard me say that a million times, but just having that ability to pitch a land that you don't need into your graveyard and draw a card is amazing. Once again, Desert of Indomitable, so another cycle land. I've got Endless Sands, another Commander Brawl staple in my opinion. This basically gives you a way to save a creature from a board wipe or removal spell and bring it back later. Evolving Wilds, a little bit of fixing. We've got Field of Ruin, a little bit of land destruction. And Foul Orchard, our tap dual land. Hostile Desert, so really, really cool man land actually. So you exile land from your graveyard, Hostile Desert becomes a 3/4 elemental creature until end of turn it's still land. So if you need to finish somebody off with a little bit more damage, this guy's here for you. And then a Scavenger Grounds. I was kind of surprised by the price of this the other day. I went in to buy a few and they're like $8 or something like that. It's kind of ridiculous. So cool card though. I mean, you pay 2, tap it, sacrifice a desert, exile all cards from all graveyards. So if you're running up against like a graveyard deck, this could be a helpful include. And then of course forests and swamps. And then I wanted to break into a few cards from Dominaria that I think will work really well in this deck once they come out. So I've got a colorless and a green. This is Ancient Animus. So it's an instant speed spell. Put a +1/+1 counter target creature you control. If it's a legendary, then it fights target creature an opponent controls. So just a little bit of fight plus +1/+1 counter buff. I've got Grun the Lonely King. So this guy's really cool. So 4 colorless, 2 green. It's got kicker 3. If Grun the Lonely King was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. When Grun attacks alone, double its power and toughness until end of turn. So just an amazing way to make a giant creature, especially with our deck, putting +1/+1 counters on things. And then of course Woodland Cemetery is another amazing include that'll come out in Dominaria. And with that, that's the end of this deck tech. I will try and get the deck list up as quick as I can. It'll probably be in a link on Tapped Out. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and we look forward to seeing you in the next Commander Brawl deck tech.